Dan vs. Remember this show? Aired back in the early 2010s on the now defunct The Hub channel. No? Well, you're gonna learn today. Learn more than you may want. The ups and downs, crazy, wacky history, and theories into this cult classic. Speaking of crazy, wacky cult classic, this video wouldn't be possible without Reddit user Banana Stealer, whatever. I combined their two icebergs and bam, look at us now. So let's get into it. The Dan versus Iceberg! Chris is Dan's best friend. Just like Dan, he's based on the series' co-creator with the same name. He met Dan when they were kids at Camp Atrocious, where Chris helped Dan get revenge on the camp counselor, forever solidifying Chris as Dan's sidekick. Mr. Mumbles is Dan's cat and best companion, debuted in the animal shelter when Dan unofficially adopted her during one of his revenge schemes. Dan mistakenly called her a male until the episode Art, where it was revealed that Mr. Mumbles is actually a female. Elise is an agent who works for a government organization, a secret she almost slips out through the entire series. Elise has never told Chris what exactly she does for a living, but she is often seen at home working on various top-secret science and technological experiments, codename being Dancing Shadow. Elise has never told Dan about her secret, but she came pretty close in the episode The Ski Trip, where they were stuck in a cabin together during a blizzard. She told him she was a fisherman. Fisherman being a code word for her actual job. There's an old saying, revenge is a dish best served immediately. The main goal of the series is to exact revenge on people, places, and things that have wronged him during his day-to-day life. Usually these revenge schemes go overboard, even for the most mundane inconveniences. If you cross Dan, he will get his revenge on you. What else is there to say on this one? Dan vs. is clearly a cult classic. Although you might not hear much about it, it has some dedicated fans. And if you go around, you'll find fan accounts on many different platforms. Even minus the fan accounts, there are a whole lot of things all over the internet that include Dan vs. love one way or the other. And well, this video is now added to that. This entry could also refer to the fandom website, TM Wiki page, so there's that too. There's a lot of fan art around the internet you can find of Dan vs. Not really much to say about this one besides the fact there are some very talented individuals in the fandom. Keep it up. Crunchy, voiced by Tom Kenny, is the blonde-haired hippie you can see throughout the series. You can see him usually at his different places of work, such as the animal shelter, Great Will, Wally's Emporium of Hardware and Explosives, and the State Park Services. He's your stereotypical hippie. We love Crunchy. And speaking of Tom Kenny, this show had its fair share of celebrity guest cameos. Jenna Fisher from The Office voices Amber in the anger management episode. Ernie Hudson, most notably from Ghostbusters, voices the camp counselor in the episode Summer Camp. Seth Green from Family Guy and Robot Chicken as the mummy in The Mummy episode. And so much more like John DiMaggio, Mark Hamill, Henry Winkler, and I could keep going, but I've stayed on this entry for far too long. This is the first entry that really stumped me when researching. I was like, what is this? And after digging, this is it. Flufflepuff is this animation series on YouTube that has a long history starting on Tumblr with some My Little Pony crossover comics, eventually leading to full-on animations on YouTube. Flufflepuff can first be seen in It's Finally Done, .avi.wmv.txt.note. All I can say is I give hella props to the creator for the effort that goes into these animations based on how they look and sound. Various billboards over Valhalla Pictures building in Los Angeles. One artsy one that's Dan's jerk shirt stretched to fit over it. A more conventional one showing the show's info, still with Dan's touch literally pulling off the billboard. And a final one that's him with other characters from the hub. This is an online forum dedicated to Dan Versus that's still active and maintained to this day. You can find various sections such as fan art, role-playing, and even play the game. Join it if you're a fan of the show to meet other like-minded people. Seems like a fun place to be. Speaking of fun places to meet other fans, the Dan Versus Discord is a place for fans of the show to hang out and just do Discord things. There's even been points where creators of the show will hop on. You can find these interviews on YouTube. Definitely a place to be if you're a fan of the show. .ai is an AI text-to-speech program. This website specifically uses characters from pop culture. And I guess the creator of it is a Dan Versus fan, cause among characters like SpongeBob and Doctor Who, Dan is included. He was added around the beginning of 2021, so you can go wild and make Dan say whatever you want.
Subscribe to StandardX, you jerks.
Just like the forum and Discord, this is another place for fans of the show to discuss it and share things, such as the Iceberg I'm using for this video. Probably the easiest way to find stuff about the show since it's the most public. You would think the main character of the show would have a birthday made clear, but there's a reason it's here in level 3. There is some conflicting info on Dan's age and birthday. In the episode Dan Versus Dan, his license says he was born on October 31st, 1975. In The Wolfman, Dan turns 26. It's all a mess, but Dan Mandel has come out and confirmed Dan's birth date is inaccurate, saying Dan was most likely born in 1985, the same year Chris was born, and even confirmed the exact month and day being February 3rd. Forever putting to rest any confusion of Dan's birthday. Or does it? Revenge is what the whole show is based on. This entry is pretty similar to the revenge schemes as earlier, so there's not much to talk about. Throughout the show, Dan will take out his notepad and write down something that causes him even the smallest annoyances. Some of the entries on the list are pencils that are too sharp, generic cereal, banana slugs, and Mike, removed after death. This was a flash game you could play on the old The Hub website. It's a pretty basic platformer, but it does have some interesting mechanics like being able to call Chris or Elise for some help. There is a boss at the end of each of the 3 levels, but an animation is shown of you defeating the boss instead of actually fighting it. While the official way to play this game is now defunct, and I guess Flash Player is too, there are still ways to relatively easily play this game. Ever since this show was cancelled in 2013, there have been rumors and speculation of continuing the series in one way or another. The most consistent rumor until recently was that the show would start airing on Cartoon Network. In 2021, co-creator Chris Pearson went public in saying he wants to get the show back on the air. So the dream is not dead, and this is still very much possible. Especially with a focus on going more adult with the show, we could see this get picked up by Adult Swim, HBO Max, or one of the many other streaming services or channels in the near future. When looking at this show from the outside, you would think the show would be relatively grounded in reality. And most episodes start off pretty normal, but there are moments in the show that go completely off the wall with creatures. You've got dinosaurs, the Wolfman, a broccoli monster, and even the devil. This is about 2 promotions on the Hub, possibly more, but I could only find these 2 on the Hub Network YouTube channel. The first one titled, well, Dan vs. Pinkie Pie, has Dan walking out of his house to find his car bedazzled, to then screaming Pinkie Pie with her to show up. This is probably the reason we can see Pinkie Pie on Dan's revenge list. The other one is a simpler one, with Dan looking through binoculars, trying to find something terrifying in the woods, only to see Pinkie Pie singing and dancing with Dan saying, "It's even more terrifying than I thought." This entry is pretty clear if you've seen the series, but basically, the Mafia exists in Dan Versus. This can best be seen in the episode Elise's Parents, where Dan accuses Elise's dad, Don, for being in the Mafia. In the end, Don is not in the Mafia, but it's actually Elise's mom who is implied to be in the Mafia. When I first saw this entry, I thought there was some kind of mystery of the DVD being stuck in production hell or something, but no, this season 1 DVD does exist and it's pretty dang cheap. So it's not rare or anything. What this entry probably refers to is that season 1 is the only season to get a DVD release. The only reference to a season 2 DVD is on Blu-ray.com, where it has some technical details, but no release date. Maybe there were plans for a season 2 DVD, but they fell through for whatever reason. Ted is an unseen but mentioned character and a former friend of Dan. He has made no appearances in the show and is written on Dan's revenge list. Ted is only mentioned in season 1. Interestingly, something the official Dan vs. Facebook page has posted is how Ted was supposed to be featured in an episode, but instead that idea was turned into an episode about an imposter taking over Dan's life. Thus, Dan vs. Dan was born. So unless you have some kind of big brain and figure this out on your own, you're probably going, "What do you mean they're cousins?" This is a spicy one, but there are actually some implications that they might be cousins. Whether this is the writer's intentions or just a fan theory, in the episode Dan vs. the Family Thanksgiving, Dan makes deviled eggs just like how Elise's grandmother used to make them. Elise's mother believes she took the recipe with her to her deathbed, and Dan states he stole the recipe from his grandmother's deathbed. There's more you can read about this on fanfiction.net, but that's the gist of it. It may sound crazy, but it's grounded in reality. Well, the Dan versus reality. These seem to be a series of videos on YouTube that take stills of the show and either use the original dialogue or alter the text one way or another. A staple of these compilation videos is that they use a text-to-speech bot to narrate the screen text. Interestingly, some of the earlier compilations were re-uploaded for some reason based on their original descriptions. I'm not sure if this is talking about rankings, like fan rankings or ratings of the episodes. I'm just going to assume they're talking about rankings, and more specifically, this website that has votes for each episode. This entry is probably this low because of how hidden the website is based on the votes, with the average votes per episode being 41. Clearly, not a lot of fans know about this site. Neat fact is how the whole series is basically at an 8.3 average. This is about the official Dan vs. Facebook page. This page has given fans of the show a lot of information straight from the people that work on the show, such as its creators and voice actors. From neat trivia like Dan's grandma's deviled eggs recipe, to behind the scenes info and more. This again is another entry that I'm confused why it's this low, but maybe there's something I don't know. This is talking about the episode The Magician. There is a character called Magnifico, whose side note is a parody of Chris Angel, obviously. At the end of the episode, Magnifico is exposed to just be using technology, which proves Magnifico wasn't magic all along. Or maybe he is, as in the last scene, Chris brings up the question of how Magnifico took Dan's underwear at the beginning of the episode. Dan can't answer the question and ends up punching Chris. So, how did Magnifico do it? Maybe he does have some magic in him after all. Degenerates, all of you. This entry is about a one-off line in the episode, Dan vs. Reality TV. The contestants are talking about a swimsuit competition, and Tony responds with, "Fine, but I swim in the nude." Nothing else comes back to this later in the episode. Why it's here? Maybe the line was a little risque for a kid's show to some. As for me, it's just another line in the show. Even though the final episode is technically summer camp, the true final episode is Dan versus the family cruise. This episode ends with Dan, Chris, Elise, and her family all getting sucked into some kind of tear of time and space. It's an emotional and quite epic end to the series, and it could have ended on that scene. For one reason or another, the next scene shows everyone back home where the episode started. Is this an alternate universe, or did the black hole send them back in time? It's definitely a possibility that the hole killed the characters, but it's only a theory. Dan Mandel and Chris Pearson, creators of the show, based the main characters, Dan and Chris, get it? Off their own negative qualities. Dan Mandel originally intended the series to be a live-action sitcom, but when Chris Pearson was told that Adult Swim was looking for new programming, they discussed if Dan vs. could be an animated series instead. If you want a what-if look at an alternate universe where Dan vs. was live-action, you can look at the YouTube channel Fans vs. Film for some fan-made sketches. This one is clearly about the episode Dan vs. the Neighbors. Basically, Dan's new neighbors were so nice, Dan thought they were evil and cannibals. That's the plot of the episode. Dan tried to run them out of town because he thinks they will eat them too. Other than that craziness from the mind of Dan, there's not really any other proof that there are cannibals in the Dan vs. lore. It's probably another entry like Tony Minestrone Swims Nude, where it's on here and this slow because this show was on a family network, where you wouldn't expect cannibals in the plot. Population Control Johnny is a comic book series within the Dan vs. universe. It also has a television adaptation which Dan can sometimes be seen watching. So where the interesting part comes in is that this character was created long before Dan vs., as it was a one-off doodle Dan Mandel created while he was in high school. Mandel was proud to sneak this character into the show, as he talks about on his Facebook post. We don't know much about Dan's grandma, but she does come into the show's dialogue every now and then, even being a key part of the show's plot in the episode Dan vs. the Family Thanksgiving. She passes away at some point during the show, since we see Dan having a conversation with her, telling her to shut up, and then later in the show, as Dan thinks he's dying, he says, "Here I come, Grandma, ya jerk." Dan's grandma is definitely a mystery to us, and would probably be another plot point if the series were to ever come back. I cannot find anything about this entry. I was looking for some kind of concept art or something. The closest thing I can see related to this is the fact in his second appearance, the imposter wears a blue polo shirt instead of the t-shirt. An artist who worked on the show released the original designs. A set of designs intended for executive pitches that was never actually intended for use was released. And they are something. I would be surprised if anyone here prefers these old designs. Do you? According to the show creator on Facebook, there was a theme song. It was just never used. It had lyrics sung by Dan Mandel and was played on a guitar by Chris Pearson. Even with all the deleted scenes and extras that the creators have released over time, there has been no release of this lost song. Maybe one day it will show up, but until then, this is a spicy entry of lost media. This entry is about the hot air balloon cultist seen in the first ever episode of the show, Dan vs. New Mexico. Dan tried to get his revenge on New Mexico by sabotaging the hot air balloon festival. The hot air balloonists turn out to be hot air balloon cultists, to the point where they are about to sacrifice a maiden to their gods. Whether these cultists or any other cults have any effect on the rest of the show is unknown. Or maybe this entry refers to the cult following the show has. All revenge schemes are personalized. Everyone experiences a slightly different version of the show the first time they watch it. This is done through an experimental personalization artificial intelligence that modifies the show to fit the viewer's tastes. This was done through the Hub Network, which is now defunct, so all episodes available online and on DVD have the vanilla revenge schemes without any AI personalization. And that, my dudes, is the Dan vs. Iceberg. I hope you enjoyed hearing me talk about it. Maybe you found out some new things about the show. Maybe you knew everything and just enjoy hearing people talk about the show. Or maybe this is your first experience to Dan vs. and now you want to watch it. Whatever the reason is, thanks for making it this far. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. It really helps out. Have yourself a damn good one. And bring back Dan vs. You cowards!